My brother went from laughing to coma in a week. Doctors gave up, but I pushed for a transfer. What they discovered left everyone speechless. The stroke doctor is concerned it may be locked-in syndrome, anyway. The original neurologist and attending physician basically made us believe there was no hope he was in there at all anymore. Yesterday the stroke team came in and assessed him, and that's where the new diagnosis, theory, came from. I don't know if I believe it or not. Is it good if he's still in there? Or is it cruel to even want that? We don't know if he'll ever get better. Very few people recover from LIS. He has an ongoing infection and inflammation in the brainstem. We don't want him to live in storage, in a care home for 30 years, vented, unable to move or communicate, just existing instead of living. But how do you pull life support from someone who may be conscious, and can you even do so, legally? Or he may get a blood clot from being bedbound, or pneumonia, or the COVID the family just tested positive for. He had no health problems at all a week ago. The last few years have been the happiest of his life. It just doesn't feel real. Relevant comments. Commenter, hey OP. I have worked with many locked-in patients. It's a fate I would never wish on anyone. Diagnosis is hard because it's effectively a diagnosis of exclusion. If it's true, textbook locked in, the clearest supporting presentation is if the patient can consistently move their eyes up and down, not side to side, to command. The difficulty lies in that real people aren't textbooks. Plus, there are so many confounding factors that it can make it hard to say with certainty if a patient is truly locked in. All that being said, I've had multiple locked-in patients recover to near normal levels of function. I was shocked because previously locked-in was a death sentence. Assuming he is young and healthy and his stroke is highly localized to the area that results in locked-in, he may actually make some meaningful recovery with intensive therapy from locked-in accredited facilities. There are a few highly regarded facilities in the US. It is a long and arduous process, I'm talking a year minimum, but recovery is possible under the right circumstances. Edit. Also, ongoing infection is going to make it really difficult to determine exactly what's going on. You really need to be able to normalize everything else before you can say with certainty if someone is locked in. Commenter, my aunt got pneumonia like 10 years ago and ended up in a coma. It was so severe. My mom went to the hospital and would just sit and talk to her, read her favorite books, put on her favorite shows, etc. even though the doctors said she wouldn't be able to recognize anything. She later woke up and told my mom that she heard everything my mom did, and what my mom did gave her hope to keep going. So have hope, OP. There's always hope. OP, thank you. I asked his friends if he'd been intending to read any books and ran out to pick one up yesterday so I can read it out loud to him. Unfortunately, it's the Andromeda strain and I didn't realize the subject matter until buying it. Commenter, you should read it, and once it gets to the climax just stop. Then be like, hey motherfucker, you can finish this once you're out of the coma, I'm leaving it right here for you. And put it by his bed, but I also have a sick sense of humor sometimes, lol. But seriously, don't give up hope in him. Hope can do crazy things, and people have gone through crazy ordeals only relying on hope. Be his hope if he needs it. What should I get for my brother's ICU nurses who are working over Christmas? Title. My brother has been in the ICU for a few weeks. I appreciate all of the nurses so much, but wanted to get at least a little something for the nurses who are missing out on time with their families to care for mine. Me and the immediately family have COVID and aren't even able to go in person. Food delivery? Sweets/chocolates? Gift cards? Amazon, Starbucks? I want it to be something actually desirable, useful. Thank you. Relevant comments. Commenter, my favorite gift as a nurse that a family brought in was a ton of practical stuff from Costco, with enough to go around. Think, lip balm, gum packs, protein bars, Fairlife protein drinks, then maybe a few goodies like chocolate or candy. I'm sorry your brother is in ICU, hope he makes a good recovery. Glad it's been a good experience with the staff. Commenter, just speaking from a personal perspective, but a sincere thank you card is awesome. We post once we get in our break room, and so when we go to eat a quick snack it's like a nice little words of affirmation boost reading them. Commenter, if food, be sure to schedule 2 separate deliveries, one for day shift, typically 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and one for night shift, typically 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. If you just deliver it once during the day, it will be gone cold for night shift. Update, a week ago my brother was in his 30s and healthy. Today he's in the ICU with locked-in syndrome. Thank you everyone for your kind words on my last post. This has been harder than there is language to explain, so I won't try. We have a tentative diagnosis for the cause of the encephalitis now, after getting a test back from Mayo Clinic. Disseminated histoplasmosis with CNS involvement. A brain fungal infection, basically. Extremely rare for someone immunocompetent, very difficult to diagnose, and often misdiagnosed or underdiagnosed. Viral meningitis is the usual misdiagnosis, which is exactly what they'd been assuming. His presentation matches it perfectly, including the upper respiratory thing he was dealing with for weeks prior. He was started on 4 antifungals the very day they got the test back. In the past few weeks we've lost the suspicion that he was locked in. He was in a full coma until 2 days ago, when he spontaneously opened his eyes. One neurologist, stroke specialist, said this was an encouraging sign. The general neurologist said it was nothing. So as usual we have no idea what's going on, what to expect, or what to hope for. Perhaps being foolishly hopeful, it does seem meaningful that there was never any improvement until a few days into the antifungal course. He's been treated for everything, and I mean everything, else. I didn't know so many antibiotics even existed. He's going to be transferred to a major research hospital in Manhattan as soon as an ICU bed becomes available. We're just waiting for the call, and when it comes they'll stuff him in the helicopter, day or night. Because he's had strokes it's possible that nothing can ever be done and there will be no improvement from here, but I'll wait for the big brains in NYC to tell us that. Also, he was Joel from The Last of Us for Halloween. Method acting asshole. I have the watch he made for it, and if he ever recovers enough for me to do so, I'm gonna throw it at his head. Relevant comments. Commenter, I had disseminated histoplasmosis, which took 5 months and multiple hospitalizations until my organic began failing. I transferred to another hospital's ICU, and was intubated for 10 days till they found what seemed to be yeast in my system, which indicated something fungal related. They hit me with anamorphosin B, and my fever came down, and ultimately they pulled me out off the ventilator. I don't know if there's much I can say to comfort you, but I know there's zero community here of those who have faced disseminated histoplasmosis. So if you have any questions, thoughts, etc., DM me, I am here for you. Commenter, as a sibling who watched my sister battle an ultra-rare, no chance this could be it, blood disease from an ICU bed, I'm holding y'all in my heart. Thank you for taking the time to update a bunch of strangers on the internet. Question from a family member, what can we do to make your lives easier, and what do you wish families wouldn't do? I saw a discussion here recently about how going to the nurse's station is frustrating and needy. I had no idea this was the case and had considered it less obnoxious than hitting the call button. Using a button or bell to summon someone always gives me the ick and felt inappropriate for non-emergencies. So, in a vein similar to that, what should we the family do to make your life easier? What do you wish more families would do? And similar to the above, what do you wish families would stop doing? Relevant comments. Commenter, don't ask for stuff for yourselves. I'm here to help your family member, not get you a blanket, coffee, water, a new pillow, a different chair etc. Also feel free to help your family member adjust their blanket, change the channel, adjust the heat/AC, charge their phone etc. You don't have to call me for that. Commenter, clustering cares is super helpful. Hitting the call light is great, and when you do it's nice to think of other things you might need. For example, hey, I think my dad needs help to use the bathroom. Also, since it's 11, could we order lunch and change his sheets while he's up? And while you're in here, could you tell us when his next pain meds are due? It's not always going to be possible. Humans are not robots. People can be frequently incontinent, need pain meds, etc., but it's so nice to be able to knock out several tasks at once instead of coming in and out multiple times in an hour. To be clear, please use your call light when you need it. Don't wait if your loved one is sitting in a mess or wailing in pain just because you don't want to inconvenience us. Commenter, try to appoint one person to get updates from the doctors and nurses that can update the rest of your family. When grandma has 5 daughters visiting and calling for updates, it can be overwhelming. Don't come up to the nurse's station instead of using the call light, then stand there and wait. Don't order DoorDash and expect staff to run around looking for it or bring it to the room right when it arrives. Update, I wanted to give an update to my 2 posts from earlier this year. I know a few folks reached out to me, I'm sorry for not responding, as I wasn't in a place at that time to really do so. But your kindness, and the fact that total strangers on the internet genuinely cared, was a balm for me when I really needed it. The final diagnosis is an extremely rare autoimmune disorder called acute disseminated encephalomyelitis. The trigger isn't clear, but it can really be caused by almost anything. He had an upper respiratory infection prior to all this, which is a common trigger. He slowly emerged from his coma over the course of a month or 2, passing through different levels of consciousness and awareness slowly, and was in fact locked in the early stages. He could only move his eyes to communicate. He received plasmapheresis treatments and started regaining mobility after that. It started with slightly moving his head side to side, slightly moving his lips, slightly twitching his fingers. Soon he was mouthing words and curling his toes. Adem apparently has a good prognosis for recovery, and the larger hospital we transferred to told us that there are no strokes in the brain, despite the initial hospital's assessment. The larger hospital has significantly more advanced MRI machines, which meant they could capture pictures the small regional hospital could not. This is something I wanted to bring up because I want to emphasize the importance of seeking that second opinion. Had we not transferred to the larger hospital, got the plasma treatment, got the new MRIs, we may very well have made different decisions regarding life support. I have no doubt other families in our position through the years have been forced to do just that. Do not give up until you have a diagnosis. As for how things are going now, he's been slowly regaining his mobility, and the neurologists told us we have no reason to believe he won't walk again. Cognitively, he is 100%. He doesn't remember the first 6 weeks or so after waking up from the coma, but does remember everything before getting sick perfectly. He weaned off the ventilator in March. He transferred to an inpatient rehab facility and was there for several more months. He's now home and doing outpatient rehabilitation. He can move every body part, though he has muscle wasting and will need to continue intense physical therapy to get out of the wheelchair. Being in hospitals for nearly a year is not without its own complications: sepsis at least once, pneumonia multiple times, so much MRSA and 4 antibiotics, and a stage 4 bedsore, but, considering where this started, it still feels like a miracle. 5 hospitals. 8 months. Please hold your family members close, and don't take for granted the amazing things your body does every day. It can all go haywire overnight. And to anyone who read these posts and cared for some strangers on the internet, thank you. Moving on to our next story, and it says, I, 17F, have celiac disease. My new friend group, 16-22F-M, thinks I'm anorexic and plan on having an intervention. A little background: my parents divorced when I was very young. My mom got me for most of the year, and my dad got me for the summer. I hated going to my dad's house. Partially because he was very stubborn and rude and always had to do things his way, but also because every time I went to my dad's house I got violently sick. Nausea, rashes, pain, muscle cramps, and then when I got older, I'd start missing my periods. TMI? I went to a doctor, but he said it was a psychosomatic problem related to stress and directed me to see a therapist. My dad didn't let me see a therapist because he thought it was total crap. My mom took me to one a few times, but by then my symptoms had cleared up, so we couldn't tell if it helped at all. One thing that really pissed me off was that my dad ate a lot of junk food and drank soda instead of water, and he mocked me mercilessly if I tried to eat healthy. I think it reminded him of my mom, because she's always been a bit of a health nut. I would sneak carrots into the house, and if he found them he'd throw them out. At my mom's house, I'd eat vegetables and organic chicken. Sometimes a food would make me feel sick, but I'd just stop eating that food and it was fine. I got into the habit of turning down any food offered to me because I didn't know if it was safe. I just explained it away as being a picky eater. And then, when I was 16, a new girl moved to my school. I became friends with her, and after a couple months I noticed that she avoided all the same foods as me. I mentioned it in passing like, hey, isn't that weird, and she got concerned and told me that she had celiac disease and I should get myself checked. I got checked, and sure enough, I had it. Everything suddenly made sense. I was so excited to finally understand what was wrong that I told everybody I knew. I told all of the people who I thought were my friends. And they didn't really react well. They acted fine at first, but I noticed that they were all doing the slow fade on me. I confronted my closest friend about it and she said that they all thought I was faking it for attention. They'd only heard about gluten-free diets as a stupid fad. I broke down crying and told her all about how horrible I felt when I had to go to my dad's house and how I couldn't believe that she didn't believe me, and she was horrified. She turned around and became my biggest supporter. She talked to the others, but they still thought I was full of shit and feeding her lies, so we decided it was best to break it off with them. My birthday is in August, so I had 2 more summers with my dad left to go through after I found out. He took the revelation about my disease even worse than my ex-friends. He would scream that I thought I was better than him and I was making up medical problems because I wanted to be special and that he wouldn't put up with that shit. I offered to take him with me to the doctor, but he said that doctors are scam artists and he didn't believe anything they said. It was horrible. It got to the point where he started sabotaging my food and cursing at me when I got sick. So, I've gotten pretty wary about telling people about the disease. Between my personal experiences and hearing people make fun of gluten-free food on TV and the internet, I've decided I'm not comfortable with telling new people. I know that's cowardly, but I'm so afraid of what people will think of me. This is my last summer with my dad, and it's the last summer with my dad. He can rot in hell for all I care, he treats me like shit. I've only got to tough it out for another few weeks, that's not my problem. I can already hear your advice about leaving my dad's house or calling CPS, and respectfully, I've made my decision that it's easier just to stay for the next 3 weeks and then leave forever. Please don't focus on that part. This is the problem I need help with. My best friend and I have made a new group of friends. They're great people, really fun. We play role-playing games every weekend. We've been hanging out since May. There's 10 or 11 of them depending on whether you count this guy who doesn't regularly attend games. My best friend approached me yesterday and told me that the rest of the group has been talking behind my back. They've put together the fact that I constantly turn down food and that I'm very picky about what I eat and that I've been getting thinner and acting sick because I've been living with my dad, and come to the conclusion that I have anorexia. They're planning on staging an intervention for me next weekend. Guys, I don't know what to do. This is such an awkward situation. I know I should tell them, but I'm so scared they're going to reject me. They've already got this idea in their heads about what's wrong. At this point I'm afraid they'll think I'm just making excuses. And I've been burned before. I lost a ton of friends by telling them about my disease. Yeah, they were dicks, but it fucking hurt. How do I do this? How do I explain it so they'll believe me? I can't handle any more people calling me a liar. I'll have a mental breakdown. This disease has ruined my life in so many ways. I just wanted to have this one part of my life separate from that. Please, Reddit, give me advice. TLDR, I can't eat gluten. That means I have to turn down food a lot, and I'm in a situation where it's forced on me, so I'm sick and losing weight. The last friends I told accused me of lying and broke it off with me, so I haven't told my new friends. They got the wrong idea and now think I'm anorexic. They're going to hold an intervention next weekend and I have no idea what to say. Update, 6 days later. Hey guys. Thanks for all your help. The intervention was yesterday and I figured you guys would want to know how everything went. TLDR, it went well. A few hours before game started, one of my friends, let's call him Zach, texted me asking to come to his house. He hosts the games, early because he wanted to discuss gaming terms that will be nonsense to most of you. I figured this was probably the intervention and texted my best friend. I think there was some confusion in the last post. This is the friend who was with my other friend group who I poured my heart out to, then she followed me to the new group. Let's call her Laura, to ask if she'd been invited too. She hadn't, so I asked her to come with me. Before I went to his house, I did something a little cheeky inspired by one of the comments on the last post. Thanks you / it have it a charge. I went and picked up some gluten-free Chinese food from a place I frequent. They have this amazing vegetable fried rice that I've fallen in love with. They're really careful about cross-contamination. I've been eating there for years and never gotten sick. I brought the food with me to Zach's house, along with Laura and my notebooks and dice for role-playing. Zach seemed really taken aback that Laura was there. I asked him if he had a problem with it, because if we were going to talk about complicated gaming things, then she should be part of the conversation because of qualifications. Ugh, I'm really sorry. I'm trying not to drop a crap ton of gaming jargon on y'all. He awkwardly said that it was fine. Then I said something like, is it alright if I eat something while we do this? I missed lunch and I'm really hungry. And pulled out the Chinese food. He said it was fine but seemed kind of alarmed, like I was freaking him out. I started eating and he started his pitch. You / Hellphelp Celiac, I didn't actually call you here to talk about game crap. Me and some of the others have noticed some things recently that we're concerned about and they elected me to talk to you about it. I said, okay. He listed off a bunch of things that I've been doing that made them worry about me. The way they never saw me eat anything, that I always seemed sick and was getting thinner, the fact that I always seemed uncomfortable and nervous when the topic of food came up, that I turned down everything offered to me, and then he finally dropped the bombshell. You / Hellphelp Celiac, Michael's older sister is anorexic, and she acts a lot like you do. We think you might be anorexic. I swallowed my food and tried not to look nervous. I'm not. I told him. He started talking about how nobody thinks they're anorexic, but there's clearly something going on with me, and he started just rambling, so I cut him off. I do have a problem. It's not anorexia. Can I talk? He reluctantly agreed. I think he was afraid I was going to say that I was too fat and my problem was that I needed to lose weight or something. Like, he really got committed to the idea that I was anorexic. I'm going to try to paraphrase what I said here because I was very proud of myself for it. I know I'm losing weight in an unhealthy way, but it's not on purpose. I have a disease that means I can't eat grains like wheat, barley, and rye. When I do, I get very sick and my body starts ripping up my stomach and I can't digest much of anything, even things that don't have those grains in them. It's not just an allergy, it does serious long-term damage to me. If I ate a piece of bread, I would break out in rashes, I'd start throwing up, and I might get stuff that seems unrelated like horrible muscle cramps. When I turn down food, it's because you guys offer me stuff like Doritos and PB&JS. If I ate that stuff, it would make me violently ill. I turn it down to keep from making my health problems even worse. And the reason my symptoms have been popping up and I've been getting sick and losing weight is that right now I'm living in a family situation where I'm forced to eat the foods that my body reacts badly to. When I first met you guys, I was living with my mom, and she accommodated me really well. But right now I'm living with my dad, and he sabotages my food because he thinks I'm making my disease up and that my doctor is a fraud. Zach took out actual note cards and looked through them. He literally had a script for the intervention. That's what I get for hanging out with the kind of dramatic people who play tabletop RPGs, I guess. He was quiet for a really long time. Then he had a few questions. But then why do you turn down, like, Coke? Because Coke is nasty, but I didn't want to complain and make you guys buy root beer just for me. 2. Why didn't you just tell us this stuff? Laura took this one and explained what happened with our last friend group. 3. Okay, so like what would I probably have in the house right now that you'd be willing to eat in front of me? I wanted to facepalm at this one. I asked if he was serious. He was. I don't know, have you got celery? He shook his head. Yogurt? Nope. An apple? Nope. Seriously? He nodded. Have you got some freaking popcorn? Like, air-popped popcorn? That he did have. So I ate some popcorn in front of him, and he finally seemed to accept what I was saying. He awkwardly changed the subject to gaming things, and we talked about that until the rest of the group started to show up. When Michael got there, Zach took him aside and started talking to him in a way that I guess they thought was subtle. They kept looking over at me and they weren't keeping their voices down very well. Michael asked if I seemed defensive and Zach shrugged and said not really. I pointedly ate popcorn for the rest of the game. Michael texted me after the game and apologized for assuming that I was anorexic and asked what snacks they could put out for me. I actually cried a little bit. I was worried about getting kicked out, but they immediately moved to accommodating me. They're nice people. So everything worked out fine. Sorry for the anticlimax. Alright, moving on to our last story, and it says, my friend hit his daughter and broke her rib. I am absolutely furious right now. My friend has a daughter who is also in my 7th grade history class. She is the nicest kid in the world and one of the best students in any of my classes. However, this morning she came into my class late and was not herself. Normally she is raising her hand and engaging with the class, but she had her hoodie up and her head down. She was holding her arm to the side and looked to be in pain. Halfway through class I walked by her desk to check on her and she looked up at me and had tears in her eyes. I brought her outside my classroom and asked her what was wrong, but she was not responding, but she started crying even more. After a couple more minutes of reassurance she finally opened up. She woke up late for school and accidentally dropped a glass of water when she was getting ready. My friend, who is her father, punched her twice in the ribs and yelled at her for being clumsy. I asked her if she was hurt and she pulled her hoodie up and her ribs were beginning to bruise. My friend is 6 feet 4 inches and over 200 pounds. My student is 12 years old and cannot be more than 85 pounds. I asked my colleague in the next class to watch over my class and I took her to the health office where her mother picked her up. When she saw her daughter sitting in pain she nearly burned the office down. She started cursing my friend's name and said this was the last straw for her. She asked me not to file a report, but I told her I was required to as I was shown evidence of abuse and her daughter used the word abuse which she begrudgingly understood. I am so mad right now. My friend has always had a short temper, but hitting your child because she dropped a glass is beyond disgusting. My student's mother texted me at noon and said her daughter broke a rib and is going to be out of class until Wednesday. I feel awful for my student. She is such a bright kid and is well liked by her peers, and now she is having trouble breathing because her father cannot act like an adult. I am ending my friendship with this man. He has been getting on my nerves for a while, but I will be damned if I am friends with someone who hits their child. Relevant comments. Commenter, sounds like the mom was also letting it happen if she asked not to report. Last straw sounds like it's happened before. Damn, this is sad. OP, I have been stuck on that sentence all day. I gave her a confused look when she said it. What do you mean, this is the last straw? It made me wonder if I ever witnessed moments of abuse between them before this incident. Commenter, that's why I'm wondering if the daughter will necessarily be safer with her mother? OP, from what she was saying it seems like she witnessed abuse but did not partake in it herself. That could make her an enabler of course, but her daughter is 100x more safe with her. I'm also planning on checking in on my student regularly once she comes back. Just so she knows there is an adult around that she hopefully feels comfortable coming to if she needs help. Update, next day. Hi everyone, a lot of people wanted an update on my previous post here, so here they are. The guidelines of my school district mandate that a police officer come whenever a child reports an instance of abuse. I am not going to go into detail for reasons of student confidentiality, but there is a warrant going out for the arrest of her father. My student is home with her mother and grandparents and is recovering. One of her ribs is broken and she is in a lot of pain, but she is breathing a lot better. Her mother and father are married but have been living apart for a couple of months. She has been floating the idea of divorcing him, and she sent me a text message this morning saying she is going to file for divorce. Her mother is a really good person, and she also reported moments of abuse between her husband. She has been able to find living arrangements and is able to support herself and her daughter. I have known her for 16 years. She would never lay a hand on her daughter. She is a good parent. My student's father blew up my phone last night saying I am destroying his family and to stay out of his business. I did not respond and blocked him. My student's mother walked into my classroom after school today to pick up any assignments for her daughter. She thanked me for reaching out to her daughter and said I saved her daughter and herself from a lifetime of abuse. She handed me a note and said her daughter wrote it. I read it when she left and started to cry. My student thanked me for recognizing that she was in pain. She felt comfortable talking to me since she has known me her entire life and knew I would act if she told me she was in danger. She called me her favorite teacher and said she will be prepared for class when she returns. I pray she fully recovers and is not deeply traumatized by this event. She is a good kid and needs to be loved and cared for by people who appreciate her. Edit, her father was arrested this morning. He is no longer a threat right now. He did admit to driving by my apartment complex last night. I might have dodged a major bullet by leaving town for the weekend. I can relax a little bit. So can my student and her mother. Thank you for everyone who supported me through this situation. If you are being abused, please tell a teacher or counselor if you are in school. I understand that it is difficult to talk about such a topic, but we are here to help you. I know there are situations where some teachers do not assist the student, but please give yourself the chance to be helped. It can mean the difference between a lifetime of danger or the ability to escape your situation. Relevant comments. Commenter, that's good to hear. Why did the mother initially ask you not to file a report? If she took her daughter to the hospital and they suspected child abuse, then they would have had to report it too. OP, she was afraid of her husband retaliating against her or her daughter. It's an unfortunate situation to be in. People who are in abusive relationships will put up with it, but many will drop everything if they see their child receiving abuse. It's a terrible cycle to go through. My student came back to class yesterday and gave me a thank you note. 8 days later, my student came back to class today. She was out all week with a broken rib after her father hit her. She was supposed to come back on Wednesday, but she wasn't ready, so they waited until yesterday. She walked into class with the biggest smile in the world. Her arm was in a sling, but she was not taking any deep breaths like she was last weekend. She sat down and participated in the class like nothing happened. She's so cool. After school, she walked into my classroom and handed me a note and an envelope. In the envelope was a gift certificate to a nice Italian restaurant from her mother. She told me to take my girlfriend and daughter out to dinner this weekend. The note was her thanking me for recognizing she was in pain and acting on it. She knew she could trust me, and my actions went a long way for her, knowing she can go to someone she trusts if she is in distress. She wrote me a similar letter last week, but it was her reiterating what she said. She gave me a hug and left, and I closed the door and cried a little bit. She is very strong for a 12-year-old. I can tell this event is not going to affect her greatly. Her mother is working harder to be open with her, and she has a good family support system. Her father is in jail and will be for a long time. She's a special kid. She is by far my favorite student. I am ready to move on to the next chapter of my life. I have been teaching middle school history for the past 14 years, and I feel like I have reached the point where I need a new challenge. Teaching the same course for nearly 15 years has worn me out, and I decided I want something else. I applied for a position at a high school in my district where I taught for the first 5 years, and today I received the phone call that I got the job. I will be teaching U.S. history to 11th graders, and I am honestly excited. They want me to take over the AP United States history course in the future, which I am okay with. The new curriculum and scene is enticing to me, and I feel like I will be able to be myself in my new classroom. I will miss my colleagues and my students. There is a chance I will be their teacher again in the future, but that is not going to be for a while. This year was the most eventful year of my career. Dealing with bomb threats, school shooting threats, a 15-person fight in a nearby classroom that spilled over into my classroom, and an incident where I reported a parent for child abuse has worn me down. I love this school, but I want to move on to the next phase of my life. I plan on proposing to my girlfriend this summer. We want to have another child and finally buy a house. We both will receive raises this year, and I genuinely believe she is the one I want to spend my life with. I am thinking of coaching baseball again if my schedule allows for it. I am happy. My life is busy, but I feel like I am building a good life for myself.